Today, a man accused of brutally killing a beloved brain surgeon appeared in court.
Investigators say he shot and killed Dr. Devon Hoover. Hoover, a neurosurgeon, found dead in his home in April of 2020.
My name is Desmond Burks. I like to say I'm not a murderer, I'm not a killer. I'm a regular person like everybody in this room. I'm not gay as what the prosecutor want me to be. Not a gang member. I love sports. I'm a people person. About the doctor stuff, just because I took the plea, don't mean I did it.
Within hours of this man being murdered in his own home, somebody was already spending his money. His credit cards, his bank accounts, his designer Cartier watches gone. Like, make it make sense. The body wasn't even cold yet, and somebody was already at the mall. This is the story of Dr. Devon Hoover, a man who spent his whole career giving people their lives back. And the person accused of taking his was someone he let all the way in. Welcome to Love and Crime Stories. Detroit has neighborhoods that carry weight. Boston Edison is one of them. Grand historic homes, old trees, quiet streets, the kind of block where doctors and lawyers live, where people work their whole lives just to say they made it there. Dr. Devon Hoover made it there. He was 53 years old, a neurosurgeon, and not the kind you see rushing past patients, the kind patients chase down the hall just to get a picture with. That right there, that tells you everything. This was not a man who was hard to love. The nicest person. The nicest person. You would never have thought anything, never, ever, ever thought anything would happen like this. Neighbors said it. Colleagues said it. Patients said it. The word that kept coming up over and over was kind. He had built a real life, a beautiful home in one of Detroit's most respected neighborhoods, a career that actually mattered. People walked again because of this man. People went back to their families because of this man. And then one day in April 2023, he was just gone. Now, let's talk about Desmond Burks. Desmond was 33 years old at the time, no steady job. According to witnesses who knew him well, he made his money however he could, selling pills and selling himself. He moved through life finding people who had something he needed. And Dr. Hoover had a lot. Investigators found that the two of them had exchanged nearly 4,000 messages, text messages, calls, 4,000 points of contact between a respected neurosurgeon and a man who charged for his company. Period. That is not casual. That is a relationship. Whatever it looked like on the surface, those two were deeply connected. Witnesses who testified later described Desmond as someone who was constantly broke, complaining about money, looking for the next come up. But when he was around Dr. Hoover, the money flowed. And Dr. Hoover, by all accounts, was generous with the people he cared about. That generosity would cost him everything. Here is where things get specific, and I need you to stay with me because the details here are important. One day before Dr. Hoover was found dead, he went and bought a Cartier watch, brand new, worth about $7,500. Now why? Does that matter? Because that watch ended up in Desmond Burke's possession, and investigators found Desmond wearing it. He said, "That's deep money, big money watch, yeah." And was he showing it off? Yes. Big money watch. He was showing it off. A watch that belonged to a dead man. Meanwhile, investigators had been quietly building a picture using cell phone data, and what they found was a clear back and forth. On April 22nd, the day before Dr. Hoover's body was discovered, his phone left his home on West Boston Boulevard and traveled to the area where Desmond lived on Sussex. It went back home briefly. Then it traveled right back to Sussex again. And after that, Dr. Hoover's phone never returned to his house again. Anyways, that same evening, a white Range Rover was spotted abandoned near a residential address miles away. There was something inside it that stopped the officers cold. Blood on the interior of the vehicle. The Range Rover was registered to Dr. Devin Hoover. Desmond Burks, seen limping away from the vehicle carrying a backpack. Surveillance cameras caught a man parking that Range Rover and walking away. He had a distinct limp from a previous gunshot wound to the hip. That limp would later become one of the most important details in this entire case. Because when police showed that footage to someone who knew exactly how Desmond Burks moved, Burks' mother identified her son by his walk in surveillance video. His own mother pointed him out. The next morning, Dr. Hoover's family couldn't reach him. He was supposed to visit his mother, a woman who was dying of cancer in Indiana. He never showed up. He never called. That alone should tell you what kind of son he was. Because a man who doesn't show up for his dying mother without a single word, something is wrong. Something was very, very wrong. When officers arrived at Dr. Hoover's home on West Boston Boulevard, the gate to the back of the house was wide open. There was blood on the exterior of the back door. They forced their way inside, and then they searched, room by room, floor by floor, until they reached the attic. Face down, only wearing socks, wrapped in a blood-soaked carpet. That is how they found Dr. Devin Hoover, hidden in the crawl space of his own home, in a neighborhood he had worked his whole life to live in, shot twice in the back of his head. Let me tell you something. Whoever did this didn't just kill this man. They tried to erase him. And while his body was still up there in that attic, somebody was already moving. Fraudulent transactions started almost immediately after the murder. Cash app transfers, credit card purchases, bank accounts being drained. Investigators tracked more than $95,000 taken from Dr. Hoover. Cash, stolen property, the watches, the fraud. Desmond allegedly took it all. And then he reportedly told associates he had enough money to buy a house. Moving on, because it gets worse. On surveillance video, Desmond Burks was caught walking into a jewelry store at Fairlane Mall the day after the murder, buying a 10-carat gold charm and diamond earrings. Cash. The same man witnesses described as constantly broke was dropping cash at the jewelry counter the day after a man he knew turned up dead.
And how did that individual pay? Cash.
Girl. But the shopping trip wasn't even the most disturbing part. One of Desmond's associates, someone who was close to him, testified that Desmond handed them a bag not long after the murder. Inside that bag, a 9mm handgun and a black and gray box with Dr. Hoover's name on it. Inside the box, surgical goggles, with the doctor's name inscribed on them. That witness said they helped get rid of everything. The surgical glasses, torn apart and thrown in separate trash cans. The bag, burned in a barbecue pit along with clothes found inside. And the gun, driven to a park and thrown into the river. So what? He thought that was the end of it. Here's the thing about trying to cover your tracks. You have to be thorough, and Desmond Burks was not thorough. Investigators executed search warrants at addresses linked to him and found not one, but two of Dr. Hoover's Cartier watches, with serial numbers that matched. One watch Dr. Hoover had purchased back in 2020, the other bought the day before he died. Both in Desmond's world. One of them on his wrist. His fingerprint was found inside Dr. Hoover's Range Rover, and nearly a dozen witnesses eventually testified, several of them granted immunity, placing Desmond Burks at the center of every single piece of this. Back in the Boston Edison neighborhood, the people who loved Dr. Hoover were waiting, passing out flyers, posting on social media, demanding that someone pay attention.
He's one of the sweetest, kindest guys that I ever met. For this to be the ending to his life is just unacceptable in my mind.
Nearly 4 months passed. No arrest, no charges, and the community was getting loud.
It's making us look at the police department and how that works. It's making us look at the prosecutor's office and how that works. And we're noticing who's not helping.
And they were right to ask, because police had picked up Desmond Burks within days of the murder. They brought him in for questioning, and then they let him go. That is where we will pick up in the next part of this story, because what happened after that release is something that a whole other family is still trying to make sense of today. Stay with us. April 22nd, 2023. That was the last full day of Dr. Devin Hoover's life. His phone shows him leaving home that morning and heading to Desmond Burke's address on Sussex. He came back briefly, then he went right back. At some point that night, in a house that showed no signs of forced entry, no signs of a struggle from the outside, 2 bullets entered the back of Dr. Devin Hoover's head. And somebody wrapped him in a carpet, carried him up to the attic, and left him there. Think about what that takes, not just physically, but mentally, to do that to someone, to fold them up and hide them like they were never there. One witness who testified said they had actually seen Dr. Hoover and Desmond Burks together inside Hoover's home the day before the murder. So he was there, in that house, with that man, and the next day, Dr. Hoover was dead. After the murder, Dr. Hoover's home had been carefully picked through. His cell phone, gone. His wallet, gone. Credit cards, gone. The Cartier watches, gone. Everything that could be quickly cashed in or used, taken. This was not a crime of passion where someone panicked and ran. Everything valuable was collected. The body was moved and hidden. And within hours, the spending had already started. Like I said before, make it make sense. Investigators had a lot to work with, but they also had a problem. The witnesses who knew what happened were scared. Some of them were involved, and almost none of them wanted to talk. The judge presiding over the preliminary hearing later acknowledged that threats had been made, on both sides. Witnesses were protected, names were sealed. Some were given immunity just to get them on the stand at all. Anyways, let's talk about what investigators were able to piece together. The cell phone data was key. Dr. Hoover's phone moving back and forth between his home and Sussex. Desmond's phone staying put at Sussex the whole time. Then Dr. Hoover's phone ending up at Fairlane Mall, then never going home again. Surveillance cameras at the mall caught Desmond at the jewelry counter, cash in hand, the day after the murder. Project Greenlight cameras, Detroit's network of surveillance cameras, caught him parking Dr. Hoover's blood-stained Range Rover near a residential address and limping away with a backpack. His fingerprint was inside that vehicle. And then there were the watches, found in homes tied to Desmond, serial numbers confirmed, one of them on his wrist while he was out here living his life. But here's where investigators hit a wall that had nothing to do with evidence. It had to do with time. Desmond Burks had been picked up within 5 days of the murder, brought in, questioned, and released. The prosecutor's office later said no warrant request had been submitted yet. More investigation was needed. Legally, you can only hold someone so long without charging them. 72 hours. That's it. So Desmond Burks walked out, and the community, the people who had been passing out flyers, posting online, demanding answers, watched it happen and felt the ground shift under them. Why was this man picked up? Because if you pick him up, you got enough to charge him with, is what I think. Why was he not kept in jail? Then another family wouldn't have lost their family member like we lost Devin. Another family. That's not just a phrase. That is a whole other story. October 2023, 6 months after Dr. Hoover's murder. Rita Sala, 67 years old, a Dearborn man, was heading home from his shop, a routine evening. He got into a minor fender bender at an intersection. Both drivers got out, and Desmond Burks punched him. One punch. Rita Sala hit the ground and fractured his skull. Desmond left him lying in the street and drove away. Rita Sala never recovered. He died the following May. His widow sat down with reporters after Desmond Burks was charged, in both cases, and said something that stopped the room. 2 families, 2 men gone, 1 person at the center of both, and the question that will not go away. If Desmond Burks had been charged when they first picked him up, would Rita Sala still be alive? That is not a question anyone can answer, but it is one that 2 grieving families will carry forever. It took over a year, but in May of 2024, Desmond Burks was formally charged in the road rage killing of Rita Sala. And then, finally, he was charged in the murder of Dr. Devin Hoover. First-degree premeditated murder, felony murder, larceny over $20,000, using a computer to commit a crime, possession of a firearm by a felon, multiple felony firearm charges, $1 million bond, no 10%. He wasn't going anywhere this time. During the preliminary hearing, Burks's defense argued the case was entirely circumstantial. No direct witness to the killing, no proof the theft was planned before the murder, and questions about witness credibility since several had been granted immunity. The judge wasn't moved. The court finds that a felony has been committed and probable cause that the defendant committed it. The case was going to trial. For months, the hearings kept coming. Burks's attorneys tried to get the case thrown out entirely as late as November 2025. The judge denied it. They had previously requested a competency evaluation, claiming Burks wasn't mentally fit to stand trial. In March 2025, a judge declared him fully competent. Trial was set for January 2026, but it never got there. On January 21st, 2026, Desmond Burks pleaded guilty, second-degree murder in the death of Dr. Devin Hoover, and guilty in the road rage killing of Rita Sala. Moving on, because the sentencing hearing is where this story takes its final turn, and it is something else. 5 of Dr. Hoover's sisters showed up to speak. 5 women who had already buried their brother, and who now had to sit in a courtroom and look at the man convicted of killing him. And during their statements, they revealed something that made an already devastating story even heavier. Dr. Hoover's mother, the same woman he was supposed to visit the day he was found dead, she had been sick with cancer. She died 4 days after her son was murdered. 4 days. A strength of our family, gone. And then their mother, 4 days later, gone. That family lost 2 people in 1 week. And through all of it, through every word those sisters said, Desmond Burks sat there smiling, rolling his eyes, smirking at the cameras. So what? Was this a joke to him? When it was his turn to speak, he stood up and said this.
My name is Desmond Burks. I like to say I'm not a murderer, I'm not a killer. I'm a regular person like everybody in this room. I'm not gay as what the prosecutor want me to be. Not a gang member. I love sports. I'm a people person. I didn't intentionally meant to kill the guy about the road rage. It was a slap, not an assault. Sorry about what happened. But can't bring it back. About the doctor stuff, just because I took the plea, don't mean I did it. I'm tired of them keep saying that I'm some gay killer or a gay person and a gang member in the same breath. That don't even mix. It's impossible.
Girl. He pleaded guilty under oath and then stood up in front of 2 grieving families and said he didn't do it. The judge had heard enough, and as Burks was taken out of the courtroom, he got one last word in. He said, if he were white and Dr. Hoover were black, nobody would care. Desmond Burks was sentenced to 35 to 60 years in the Michigan Department of Corrections for the murder of Dr. Devin Hoover, and 10 to 15 years concurrent for the killing of Rita Sala. He will not be a young man if he ever walks out. Dr. Devin Hoover spent decades becoming someone. He did not grow up with everything handed to him. He built something real, a career, a home, a reputation that made people in his community proud. The kind of doctor who made patients feel like people. The kind of man whose absence left a hole that nobody else could fill. And the people who loved him did not get to grieve quietly. They had to fight just to get his case taken seriously. They passed out flyers. They went to the media. They stood outside police departments and prosecutors' offices, asking why nobody seemed to be in a hurry. For over a year, they waited. That kind of loyalty, that refusal to let someone be forgotten, that is its own kind of love. His family's statement after the arrest said it simply. He was an exceptional man, a doctor, brother, son, uncle, and friend who invested in our lives with unwavering kindness and generosity. Although nothing will ever reverse our loss, we are grateful that someone will be held accountable for Devin's death. Unwavering kindness and generosity. That is the man they lost. That is what that carpet in the attic took from the world. And then there is the Sala family. Rita Sala went to work that day, headed home at 6 o'clock. By 8, his wife could not reach him. She knew, the way you just know. Rita Sala died from a single punch. A man who had nothing to do with Dr. Hoover, nothing to do with Desmond Burks, nothing to do with any of this, lost his life at an intersection on an ordinary evening. And his widow now carries a grief that is tangled up with a question she never asked for. What if the system had moved faster? 2 men, 2 families, 1 person in the middle of both. I said what I said, and I'll let you sit with that. This case raised something bigger than 1 murder in 1 house on 1 night in April. It raised the question of who gets urgency, who gets resources, whose case gets worked around the clock, and whose gets passed over. The community around Dr. Hoover, particularly the Black gay community in Detroit, felt that silence deeply. They watched a high-profile case seemingly go cold. They watched a suspect get released, and they kept asking out loud, why? Those are not comfortable questions, but they are fair ones. And this story does not answer all of them. What it does is remind us that the people who push, who refuse to be quiet, who show up and make noise, sometimes that is the only reason a case moves at all. Desmond Burks is now in the Michigan Department of Corrections, 35 to 60 years. He walked into that courtroom smirking and walked out a convicted murderer, twice over. He said he is not a killer. The judge said otherwise. The guilty plea said otherwise. And 2 families who will never be whole again, they say otherwise every single day. Dr. Devin Hoover deserved to grow old. He deserved to keep saving lives, keep taking pictures with grateful patients, keep being the strength of his family. He did not get that. But he will not be forgotten, not by his sisters, not by his patients, not by the community that fought for him when it felt like nobody else would, and not here. That is the story of Dr. Devin Hoover. If this hit different for you, if you felt something watching this, share it. Because the best way to honor a life like his is to make sure people know it existed. Like this video, drop a comment, tell me what you think about this case. I genuinely want to know where you land on it. And subscribe to Love and Crime Stories, because we are not done telling the stories that deserve to be told. Take care of yourselves out there, and take care of each other.
You don't have to speak in the microphone. Good morning.
Good
Thank you
morning.
for being here. Can you state your name for the record, please?
Lila Graber.
Okay. And if you can just indicate your relationship with the victim in this case, Mr. Hoover.
I'm his sister.
Thank you for being here today. This is your opportunity to make a statement to the court. Go ahead.
I want to thank the court for this opportunity to briefly describe some of the impact Mr. Burke's actions have had on me and my family. The year of 2023 was going to be difficult for our family. We knew that. We just didn't know how difficult. In January, doctors said there was nothing more to be done for my mom's cancer. We expected that it would be only a few months before she passed away. As April approached, we felt that the end of her life would likely be within a few weeks. In early April, I had one of my last phone conversations with Devon, my only brother. His schedule of visiting our mom had not meshed with mine, and he wanted to know if I'd be there for Easter. I considered it, but due to responsibilities at home, I thought I couldn't. And though no one is promised tomorrow, I reasoned that we would be together later in the month, around Mom's bedside, and then again at her funeral. I was expecting that through that time of sorrow, Devon would be there along with each of my 5 sisters. It would be such a comfort to be together while we said our earthly goodbyes. That was not to be. Before we got to that day, the shock and horror of Devon's death turned everything upside down. 4 days after the awful realization of his murder, our mother passed away. Devon was gone. The family was miles apart. Some of us were in Detroit navigating the difficulty of planning a funeral without the advantages of hometown connections, while the rest were going through the motions of tasks needing to be done in Indiana. All of us were distracted by our grief over the loss of Devon and the many questions swirling around in our minds. The weight of Devon's death and the surrounding circumstances seemed to crowd out any normal feelings of grief one might have at the loss of a loving, attentive mother. That brought some feelings of guilt, and still does to this day. It was as if I could not do what I wanted to do for her and what I felt she deserved. Tears, sleepless nights, confusion, and questions were the new reality in the early days after Devon's death. Difficulty concentrating on certain things was a problem for a long time. I could not concentrate well enough to really enjoy reading any book except the Bible until just recently. It's not hard to put those kind of things into words, but how does one adequately describe the ongoing loss of Devon, his life, his person, everything he brought to us and to the family? I've decided not to go into detail, but what was, the relationship we had was snuffed out in an instant at the hands of Mr. Burks. Besides that, dreams for our future were gone. I had thought about what life might look like as we grew older. I hoped for a time when work would slow down, family responsibilities would be less, and we might have more time to spend together. That will never happen. Devon's death has affected every member of our large family, each one in slightly different ways. One of the heaviest burdens is knowing the devastating blow it was to our 85-year-old father to lose his only son in such a violent, senseless way. None of us can really know the suffering that he endured. I do want to say that in spite of a measure of sorrow and disappointment that I will carry with me for the rest of my life, I'm okay. I'm surviving, even thriving. I believe I can say this for the rest of the family as well. This is possible because of the love of our Lord Jesus Christ, who is with us every step of this difficult journey. I read something from the Bible the other day that perfectly describes it for me. Psalm 31, verses 7 and 8. I am overcome with joy because of your unfailing love, for you have seen my troubles and you care about the anguish of my soul. You have not handed me over to my enemy, but have set me in a safe place. This is the reality that nothing can take away. And now I have a few words for Mr. Burks. Your actions have grieved not only our family, but many others as well. In these last few months in particular, my heart has gone out to your mother. I'm a mother. I have sons. If I'm correct, you'll be 36 years old this year. I have a 36-year-old son. I know what it's like to hold a newborn son in your arms and envision all the possibilities for a life well lived. Mr. Burks, I believe I can safely say that you have shattered your mother's heart. The life you could have had is gone. You will spend most, if not all, of the rest of your life behind bars. This, I believe, is a fitting consequence for the crime you have committed against not only Devon, but against me, our family, the Sala family, and the many friends affected. By the grace of God, we have no hatred or animosity toward you. I asked my dad, Devon's dad, if he had anything to say. His words were, in prison he will have time to think. My prayer is that he will repent. We can forgive. That is my prayer too, Mr. Burks, that you will find true freedom, freedom from something far worse than prison walls, freedom from the evil that has you firmly in its grip, freedom of the heart and soul, freedom to love instead of hate. This freedom is the gift of God, available to all without discrimination, described within the pages of the Bible. If the Son, meaning Jesus Christ, sets you free, you will be free indeed. John 8:36. That's all. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you very much for your statement. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Can you state your name for the record?
Gerald Martin.
Okay. And what relationship did you have with Devon Hoover?
My wife, Andrea, is Devon's sister.
Okay.
So I'm here to make a statement on her behalf.
All right. I want to thank you for being here, and you can go ahead and make the statement.
Thank you. My name is Gerald Martin. I will be reading a statement for my wife, Andrea Martin, the sister of Devon Hoover. Today, I want to take a little time to talk about my brother, Devon, and how much I miss him. Devon was a great family member, someone I was always glad to see. Our family wasn't extremely affectionate, but Devon would walk up and give me a hug. He was engaging and fun to talk to. He didn't talk about himself a lot, but he was interested in all of us and would ask questions about our lives. He had a good sense of humor, and conversations were punctuated by laughter, as he would tell funny stories from his life or from the latest book he was reading. He was brilliant, and we were proud of him and his accomplishments. He would join enthusiastically in any activity our family was doing, whether it was eating a slice of homemade pie, playing Monopoly, or frisbee football, building sandcastles on the beach, or singing hymns. Devon was a hard worker and would jump in to help with whatever needed to be done. During hard times, he called to see how he could help or offer his expertise as a doctor. He really cared, and he was so kind. He was an amazing friend to many. It's hard to put into words what he meant to our family, or the sense of loss we feel now that he's gone. Our family will never be the same. We have experienced the shock of his death. We've cried many, many tears. We were thrown into planning 2 funerals at once, since her mother died 4 days after Devon. I've gone through more stress and exhaustion than ever before. Grief pops up in so many ways, often unexpectedly and at inopportune times. We had to leave our children behind as we made numerous trips to Detroit to take care of Devon's estate. Personally, I have a lot of anxiety. There's an ache in my heart as I remember Devon and think about what could have been. In spite of all this, I know I'm going to be okay. Jesus is with me, and he's promised to never, ever leave me. I know his promises are true. He brings me peace as I wrestle with my fears. Just as Devon beautifully restored his home room by room, Jesus is restoring my soul. I am a work in progress, and Jesus has promised to complete his work in me. Desmond, I forgive you. I will not hold bitterness and hatred in my heart toward you for the evil you have done. My wish for you is that you can know Jesus. He says in the Bible that anyone that commits sin is a slave to sin, and this includes all of us because we have all sinned. Please turn away from your sin and come to Jesus. He can make you into a new person. He can give you a new heart with new desires, and you can be free on the inside even though you are in prison.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Good morning.
Hi.
Can you state your name for the record, please?
Beth Leitner.
Okay. And what relationship do you have to
Devon is
Devon?
my brother.
Okay.
April 23, 2023 is a day forever seared in my mind. It was a Sunday, and it was an unusual day in that I did not attend church, but instead went to be with my mother, who was dying from cancer. My sisters and I were together, caring for our mom, and were prepared for our brother Devon to join us for lunch, as he had on many Sundays for the past several months. As the morning progressed, we occasionally mentioned that we were surprised Devon wasn't home yet. We had all called or messaged him, and he hadn't answered us. As unusual as that was, we knew he was very busy, and we thought of different scenarios that might be preventing him from answering us. We knew he would let us know as soon as possible as to why he was late. As the day wore on, we decided to go ahead and eat lunch without him. I was distracted about caring for my mom, but an unsettled knot began forming in the pit of my stomach. I kept pushing away the worrisome thoughts, unable to even begin thinking of anything else except at any moment Devon's car was going to pull in the driveway and he would explain all that had kept him for so long. And we would all laugh about how worried we had been. By mid-afternoon, we were all extremely concerned. We tried calling the hospital. They told us he was probably on call. We left him more messages through his answering service for the hospital. And finally, we knew we must call the police. They said they would conduct a welfare check. And it wasn't long until they called us back with the information that they found his car and there was blood in it. This was the beginning of the utter devastation of my heart and soul. We began praying and calling our churches and friends and family to pray for our brother. We still had hope that he was alive. It was very late. I went home with my husband. We couldn't sleep. We sat on the couch in silence, just praying for a miracle. And then the call came. He was gone, murdered. My only brother, my childhood companion, the one I had played with every day, biking, riding horses, wading in the creek, making forts. We worked together, feeding calves and cows and milking and baling hay. We had pet raccoons together. We went to school together and to church together. Hearing that he was murdered felt like a bomb went off in my heart, the pieces scattered everywhere. The next several days and even weeks are a blur of painful survival. I did what needed to be done, going through the motions of living, but feeling so broken inside. My mom had died the Thursday following Devon's death. I felt unable to grieve for her. Every thought, every emotion of grief was already spent on my brother.
visitation, funeral, burial for Devon, and then visitation, funeral, burial for my mom. So many tears. There was comfort and love from many, many people, which helped tremendously. The whole community shared our sorrow and surrounded our family with love, care, support, and prayers. Throughout the weeks that followed, I struggled to know where to begin putting my life back together. How do I get through the day? The physical pain was real and deep. As more and more came out about the murder, the pain increased, things that my whole body, soul, and spirit longed to reject. My faith was challenged in ways it had never been challenged before. I had so many questions, and there were no answers. All this wrapped up with the hourly grief and pain for Devon. Now it has been nearly 3 years, and God has been faithful to me. He's still here holding my questions. He has given comfort, He has revealed truth, and He has given grace that brought me to a place of acceptance and forgiveness. While I abhor the evil of taking another person's life, I forgive Desmond Burks, and I pray for him to find forgiveness and help from a real and loving God who will never cast away anyone who comes to Him. Today and for the rest of my life, I carry the grief of all that transpired around my brother's murder. I always imagined connecting with him more, spending more time in our senior years once my children were raised. At home, I sit beside remnants of his life. There's a little table here and an antique bowl there. His white lab coat hangs in my closet next to my dresses. While these are cherished, they are also empty and lonely reminders of his past. I miss his grand house, his many hand-picked antiques, how he styled them and displayed them. I miss his knowledge of the medical field and all the help he gave me over the years. I miss his smile, the light in his eyes, his practical, no-nonsense advice. I miss his determined and confident stride. I miss his entertaining stories and sense of humor. I miss his love and kindness, but most of all, I just miss him, who he was as a real human being, so unique and so irreplaceable. This is the lasting impact that I will always miss him, and I will always carry the sorrow of losing him for the rest of my life.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good morning.
Morning.
Can you state your name, please?
Lori Hoover.
Okay. And how are you related to Devon?
He is my brother.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for being here.
Unimaginable evil came to the kitchen table of my parents' home on April 23rd, 2023, where our family was gathered, and we all heard the voice on the phone saying we found his car with blood in it. In the next room, our mother lay unresponsive, dying from cancer. It was a dark night that culminated with some of the darkest news possible. Our brother was dead, murdered. We were prepared to grieve for our mother, but not for our brother. Devon was a central figure in our family, right in the middle of the siblings, with 3 older sisters and 3 younger. He was strong, capable, driven, and exceptionally intelligent. He loved his family, and we knew it. Now there is a Devon-sized hole in the middle of our family, and our hearts are forever changed by grief. Devon accomplished much in 53 years, and he would have done so much more. He wanted to take each of his sisters and their spouses on a trip to Europe. He was planning for an English garden in his backyard, learning French, in addition to being an excellent neurosurgeon in the prime of his career, known for his skill and compassion. One man, Desmond Burks, is responsible for our grief, our loss, and all that will never be. How shall we go on without our brother? We don't really know. But we do know a God who said, "Come to me, all you who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest." We have found rest in the one who carries our grief and sorrow. We go on with forgiveness. Desmond, I do forgive you because I have also been forgiven of much. Jesus is a light that shines in the darkness, and the darkness cannot overcome it. I pray that you will turn to him and find rest for your soul. And we go on with hope, believing one day all shall be well. On that day, God himself will wipe away all tears from our eyes, and there will be no more death, neither sorrow nor crying, neither shall there be any more pain, for the former things will be passed away. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Morning.
Good morning.
Can you state your name, please?
My name is Linda Hirschberger.
Okay. And what relationship did you have with Devon?
Devon is my brother.
Okay, thank you for being here. Go ahead.
My sister said a lot of what I was going to say. So if it's appropriate, if I could talk to Mr. Burks.
You can direct your comments to me, but obviously you can say what you want, okay?
Okay. So I just wanted to say, Mr. Burks, that like my sister said, in April of 23, it was like this bomb went off in our lives. And it was just this, like they said, a giant Devon-sized hole that will never be filled. And in the 3 years following, we had these ripple out effects. And like my sister stated, there's so many things that are we just miss, and it's the biggest loss is Devon. But I think that like some of the ripples that are the hardest are the fact that it happened right in the most painful time of our lives. And I don't know if you know that, but like that's been the thing that's been hardest for me to forgive you for, is that when we could have used Devon the most, he was the strength of our family, and he was the one who would have known how to help our mom get from living to passing and how to take care of her pain. And we needed him so desperately in that moment, and he wasn't there. And he and my mom were the strength in our family, and to lose both of them in 1 week was just astronomical. And I just that piece there has been the hardest for me to really let go of. And I just wanted to say to you, Mr. Burks, that when I sat in the courtroom earlier and I saw your mother's tears, something shifted in my heart. And I just know we're in the middle of a very broken story. And I acknowledge that I have no idea what happened in your life prior to this point. And so all the giant things that I'm losing of my brother, all the ways that I miss him, all the desires that I wish, my sister stated everything I was going to say about what we were hoping for. All that loss, I think just if you could, speak to us in the Sela family, some sort of acknowledgement that you understand our losses. Like, I think one of the hardest things is that you act like their lives didn't matter, that somehow they were expendable. And so I stand in this place where there's a loss of Devon and there's a loss of Mr. Sela, and you're acting like it was nothing. And I think that for both of our families, if you could just acknowledge the great loss, that would be so helpful to us. And I think too that my heart really grieves for you, because I see your life as a loss too. I wouldn't want for you the rest of your life in prison. I'm sure that you have giftings that were never experienced because of what life handed you. And I'm sorry that your life is going to be stuck in jail the rest of your life too. It doesn't bring me any great joy. It's just a lot of pain all in one pile. And so, yeah, I just want to say too that I don't hate you, and I'm choosing to keep forgiving you. And I would ask if at some point you could say to our family and the Sela family that you understand how great our loss is. That would be really meaningful to us.
Thank you. you anticipate?
I believe it's just one.
Okay.
Your Honor, the victim's family has brought a Bible they would like Mr. Burks to have, so I will give it to Ms. Silver.
Okay.
And so she can have the deputies. Yes, thank you.
This was brought in that you can give it to the deputies as well, and then Mr. Burks can have that, okay?
Yes, Judge.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. Good morning.
Good morning.
Can you please state your name?
Angie Salmasi.
And what relationship did you have with Mr. Saleh?
He was my stepdad.
Okay, thank you for being here.
Thank you. Roda Saleh was my stepfather, but to me and to so many others, he was much more than that. He was family, he was safety, he was kindness, and he was love in human form. On the night of April 17th, 2023, Roda called my mom, his wife, to tell her he was on his way home from work. That call was normal. It was routine. It was the kind of call that represents stability and love, the kind that says, I'm coming home. But he never made it home. As the hours passed, fear started to set in, because that was not like him. Roda was dependable. Roda was responsible. Roda was the kind of man who showed up, always. My mom called all of us in a panic because deep down she knew something was wrong. Hearing that fear in her voice is something I will never forget. We called the hospital after hospital, hoping someone had seen him, hoping someone could tell us that he was okay. Eventually we found out that he was at Sinai Grace Hospital. No one called us, no one notified us, even though he had his ID on him. While we were desperately searching for him, he was laying there alone, fighting for his life. When we got there and learned that he was on his deathbed from a brain bleed caused by an assault during a road rage incident, our world stopped. The shock, the disbelief, the heartbreak. There are no words strong enough to describe that moment. Roda was one of the gentlest, most genuine men you could ever meet. He would never hurt anyone. He was 68 years old and still worked every single day, not because he had to, but because providing for his family was who he was. That was his purpose. That was his pride. He was a father to 6 children, a grandfather to over 12, and a stepfather to 3. But more than titles, he was present. He loved deeply. He showed up. He listened. He helped. He protected. He was a loving husband to my mother, her partner, her strength, her comfort, and now that is gone. Roda was a God-fearing man who never missed a prayer in his life. His faith was not just something he said, it was something he lived. He treated people with patience, with respect, and with kindness. He believed in doing good, and even when the world wasn't good back. And on top of all of that, he was a caregiver for my mother, who is bedbound and on dialysis. And unfortunately, she's too sick to be here today. He took care of her every single day. He made sure she was safe, comfortable, and loved. He carried that responsibility with pride and love, never complaint, never hesitation. Because of Desmond's actions, our lives are shattered over something as small as meaningless as a fender bender. He took away a man who meant everything to us. He didn't just take one life, he damaged an entire family. He took away a husband, a father, a grandfather, a caregiver, a spiritual leader in our family, a man who held us together. There is an emptiness in our lives now that can never be filled. Holidays will never feel the same. Family gatherings will always have a missing chair. My mother lost the person who cared for her and loved her unconditionally. Our family lost our protector and our foundation. Roda deserved to come home that night. He deserved to grow old with his wife. He deserved to watch his grandchildren grow up. He deserved peace. He deserved safety. He deserved life. Instead, we are left with grief that will never fully go away. We will carry this loss for the rest of our lives, and we will carry his memory, kindness, and his love with us forever.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your statement. Okay, thank you. On behalf of Mr. Burks, Mr. Burks and Ms. Silver, you can come forward.
Yes, Judge.
And Ms. Krause as well. All right, anything on behalf of your client, Ms. Silver or Ms. Krause?
Judge, I, on behalf of my client and Ms. Krause, sincerely apologize to both families for the loss they have suffered. I think I apologize for the circumstances that brought Mr. Burks here, the childhood that Mr. Burks led, and the circumstances that I think contributed to him being here before you today. I think Mr. Burks wishes to address the court as well.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Burks. Go ahead.
My name is Desmond Burks. I like to say I'm not a murderer, I'm not a killer. I'm a regular person like everybody in this room. I'm not gay as what the prosecutor want me to be. Not a gang member. I love sports. I'm a people person. I didn't intentionally meant to kill the guy about the road rage. It was a slap, not an assault. Sorry about what happened. Can't bring it back. About the doctor stuff, just because I took the plea, don't mean I did it. I'm tired of them keep saying that I'm some gay killer or a gay person and a gang member in the same breath. That don't even mix. It's impossible. That's all I gotta really say.
All right.
Nothing else.
All right, thank you. With regards to on both cases, you may file an application for leave to appeal your conviction and sentence. If you cannot afford to hire an attorney, the court will appoint an attorney and furnish the attorney with the transcripts.
Just before you continue, can we approach briefly?
Yes, go ahead.
Stay right.
Just because of for today, we're going to go back in. Okay? Why don't we, you know what, Jackson, can you approach? We're going to go off here. We'll be right back. Yeah,
back up
thank you. We're back on the record. Mr. Burks, all the attorneys are present. Mr. Burks is present. Mr. Burks made his statement. I've heard all the statements. Before I continue, I just want to indicate, Mr. Burks, you may file an application for leave to appeal your conviction and sentence. If you cannot afford to hire an attorney, the court will appoint an attorney and furnish the attorney with the transcripts and file necessary for you to handle your appeal. Your request for an attorney must be made within 42 days. Now, this goes for both cases. You will have that application for leave to appeal your conviction. With regards to costs and fees that are associated with this case, $130 crime victims assessment on both cases. There will be $1,300 in court costs on both cases, $400 in attorney fees on both cases. There must be a $60 DNA fee. That will be on case 25-003851. $68 in state costs on both cases. With regards to docket 25-003851, you'll be given credit for 647 days served. In case 25-003857, you will be given credit for 562 days served. I will adopt the sentence agreements in this case. It will be the sentence of this court on count 2, second-degree murder, to adopt the sentence agreement. In that case, 35 to 60 years in the Michigan Department of Corrections. On counts 3, 4, and 5 per the agreement, it will be 6 to 10 years in the Michigan Department of Corrections. With regards to 6 through 8, felony firearm, second offense, it will be the sentence of this court to sentence you to 5 years in the Michigan Department of Corrections. The second degree murder count and counts 3, 4, and 5 will be concurrent with one another, and both will be consecutive with the felony firearm. On case 25-003857, it will be the sentence of this court. I'm sorry, that this will be 25-003851. It will be the sentence of this court to sentence Mr. Burks to 10 to 15 years in the Michigan Department of Corrections, concurrent with one another, with the other case of 25-003857. And is there any restitution? I can leave that to be determined.
Yes, Your Honor. We'd ask that it be determined.
Okay. Okay, it will be left to be determined. I want to thank the Hoover family for being here today, and the Saleh family. To the Saleh family, I'm very sorry for your loss, and thank you for that profound statement that was made. And to the Hoover family, I want to thank everyone who spoke. My heart goes out, and my condolences goes out to everybody involved, all the victims, and oftentimes in these cases, the one thing I don't want is for the victims, Mr. Saleh and Devon Hoover, ever to be forgotten. And based on those statements that were made today, those were some of the most profound, forgiving statements that this court has ever heard. And that is a far cry from the dichotomy that we've seen on the other side, quite frankly, and the smirks and the rolling of the eyes and making this a circus. All I have to say is, quite frankly, you are a murderer, sir. You are a killer. You pled under oath to that, and that's your sentence. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
You are a murderer. You are a killer. He was white. He was black. He wouldn't care.